element is another principle called the silver cord. Okay, the silver cord. These are things that you know you can't see them with your eyes. You can't touch them. However, they are more real than the things that you can touch and see. These principles that we're discussing, you have to understand the atom that makes physical reality is 99.9% space. So if the atom that makes reality is 99.9% space, then that means the reality that we see is 0.001 of the atom. So the empty space is principles, forces, intelligence, all right, design, all right, and we have to be aware of the best way to live. We can't just live by luck, like by chance. We can't just say, oh, some things are going to work out. We have to make it work out. That's really what it boils down to. By magic, one way or the other, that's the reason why magic was given, is to rebuild the temple of God, which is to rebuild your astral body, to understand the best decisions so that your soul can leave hell, which is earth, So the silver cord basically is anybody that you talk to or have an interaction with. You develop, once you remember something, you have an attachment to that thing. All right. So if you remember a glass table that you saw yesterday, there is in the astral world, there is a connection, an emotional connection to that thing. It's like a rope. All right. So in a lot of esoteric writings, they represent it like an octopus. So when you see like a Cthulhu, you see like a giant octopus. They tell you it's like the dark forces. They like to use octopus glyphs. The reason is because the different tentacles represent the different cords that connect you to the different things that you have encountered. All right. So when you're connected to that thing is also connected to you. In the scriptures, this is explained in the part where they ask the Christ. They say, how can we get God to forgive our sins? And Christ is like, well, before you take your gift to God to the altar, first of all, stop. Go to your neighbor that you've had any problems with and settle with that neighbor. Once you and your neighbor are cool, then God in heaven is cool with you too. Then you could go give your gift. This is in the New Testament. The occult explanation for this is that human interactions creates what they call a silver cord. All right? Especially people that you emotionally dealt with. The more you deal with the person, the tighter the cord is. It's an actual cord. All right? What this means is that the person's actions and thoughts can affect you based on your degree of nervous system openness or application. You may be able to hear the person's thoughts and emotions and feelings, even to the point of see the person where they are, depending on your degree of development of your nervous system. But, ultimately, you and that person are connected. If the person has bad emotions for you, person doesn't feel good for you, and it is justified. Maybe you actually did something fucked up to the person. And the person has a grudge for you. It's going to affect your dealings on earth. The person's energy, because of the cord that's attached to you and that person is going to be sending vibes to you. And just imagine different connections to different people. Okay? That's how the inner world looks. That's how your real self looks. When you bypass your head and your fingers and your hands and your flesh, and you get to see your real self, like everything, not just your flesh, but everything. You see that you don't look nothing like your flesh at all. Matter of fact, if they show you your real self, you probably won't be able to sleep at night. You know what I mean? So yeah. So that's another thing that affects your luck, is your dealings with other people and the degree of justice. All right? So if the person is justified in how they feel, that you've mistreated the person, then you should go and mend fences. And once you've declared that you recognize what you did was wrong, and you take responsibility, then you've cut you've neutralized that cord, right? So you've activated your aura around that cord to be strengthened. So now if the person is feeling anything for you, if it gets to that point, you've sealed it. All right? But, injustice makes holes in your aura. Okay? When you fuck over people behind your back, when you do shit that's fucked up, it creates holes in your aura and leaves you wide open for stuff. All right? To bear that in mind, this is a structured universe. This place has principles, codes, rules. It's like a game. Okay? You have to know the rules of engagement of this environment. You can't just wake up every day and be living and think things happen by chance. Nothing happens by chance. The people that know how to play it is going to play it, and the people that don't know, they're going to be taken advantage of. That's how it goes. All right, so I'm going to go through some more questions and jump into the next topic. Somebody, Yaya said, this is why the Hawaiians have the Ho'oponopono visualization cord cutting. I suppose so. It is a real cord. And you can't just cut it by visualization. Okay? Some of these cords are even attached to people that are dead. That's the worst part. So if it's attached to a dead person, you have to go and find a living person from that. Hopefully, the person had a child or has like a nephew or something. Connecting family. Then anything you owe that person, you go and make it well with the part of that person that's alive. There's a part in the Bible, in the book of David, I think in the dealings with David, I can't remember the book, but I can remember these stories where he said that all of a sudden the children of Israel started losing their battles, and they started getting whooped. And every time they go to battle, they'll start losing. So finally they consulted the Lord, and he said that there was a promise he made to a certain family. I think they killed all the man's family except one of his kids who was like a cripple. And David had to go find that kid that was a cripple and put him in the court, in the temple, to be eaten by his table every day, even though David hated cripples. So as soon as he did that, then things changed. But the Lord didn't inform them that, hey man, you didn't keep this promise. The punishment just started. Till they had to inquire, say, hey, why is this happening? If they never inquired, the punishment would keep happening. All right? So this is something that he promised, he did to a certain family, and he made a promise And he never kept the, I guess he forgot, never kept the promise or whatever. Eventually, when time came, it started having an effect on the entire nation. It's in the Old Testament. And eventually he went to find the kid who was a cripple. The kid's name starts with an M. I can't remember exactly. And even though David hated cripples, he let him eat at his table for the rest of his life because of the promise that he had made. So that's the part of the story I can remember, but it's in the Old Testament. So that's another example of this silver cord that we're talking about, which is your dealings with people and how it can affect your circumstances. So these are places that some of these examples, these are occult principles, okay? These are not just stories. This is shit that can happen to you as long as you breathe air. All right? I'm going to take a break. Yeah, he says Mephibosheth, Jonathan's son. Exactly. Thank you, Ngozi. Jonathan's son. That's right. That's it. I read that book, man. I read that book front to back, son. So I know them stories. I may not know the names, but I know the stories. You know what I mean? So that's that. So if you have any question on the good luck part, you can ask it, and we go on to the next one. It's called cutting cords. Okay, this ties in to the first topic, which is mental adaptation and alchemy, and in the Kabbalion, it's called transmutation. So you transmute one emotion with another. Okay, so you might feel down. Then you start playing some music that you like. All of a sudden, you're not remembering the stuff that made you down. You're in the music now. Music make you feel better. All right. So what is a chord? A lot of times they use these names and they use these terms, but that's just to ease understanding. It doesn't mean there's actual rope connecting you to somebody else. However, it feels like it because a rope connects 2 points, so that's the best way to describe it. But there's an attachment between 2 points or 2 people, and that attachment is emotional. So another name for cord is a silver cord, which is an emotional attachment that works through your thoughts. So you ever having a good time, then you remember an argument you and somebody had, and all of a sudden your heart start beating faster. You start getting anxious that you might meet that person soon. Next thing you know, you having a fight with that person in your mind, and it's making your heart beat fast. So now it doesn't move from thinking. Now the energy is actually in your physical body, altering your physical body. So this is why the nervous system, controlling your nervous system, gaining control of your nerves, is paramount in all schools in spirituality. Because without that, you have no control of anything. And anybody that has more control of themselves can control you. So there are practices which I do give out for people that consult me on being able to regain control of your nervous system. It comes with practice. There's some definite practices, definite meditation techniques. You're not going to see it online, I guarantee you. A lot of this stuff comes straight from the spirits. You can search all you want. If they don't show you, it'll be right in front of your face. But if they don't show you, you're not going to see it. All right? So the thing I want people to know is that there's a place in the New Testament where he talked about the concept of cords. And the way they described it, the disciples asked Christ, how God forgive people when if they wronged God, what do they do for God to forgive them? And Christ told them, it's like, if you have an issue with your neighbor, before you beg God for forgiveness, go to that neighbor and settle with that neighbor. And once you and that neighbor is good, God is good. Okay? So another place they gave because a lot of the reason I use these biblical texts is because they existed before the Bible. They existed before the colonial hands got hold of it. That's why they're more powerful. They come from ancient Igbo schools, ancient African schools. So a lot of those tales is not like the people there are real people, but they use these stories to describe attributes of your circumstance on earth. All right? So there's a part where David, I gave this example in one of my previous lectures. David promised something to particular people and didn't fulfill it. And all of a sudden, the Israelites start losing their battles, and battles that they were supposed to win, they start losing it. And they went and inquired to the prophet. The prophet's like, yeah, remember you promised such and such, the family got wiped out and you promised them you were supposed to give them some. You never gave it to them. So he went and started looking for a descendant and he found one of the descendants, and he brought him at his table and fulfilled the promise. And all of a sudden, the Israelites started winning their battle. It doesn't mean that anybody called Israelites in real history. It doesn't mean there's anybody called David in real history. Okay, so don't focus on the principle and don't worry about the names used. So when you deal with humans, you attach your subconscious, a part of your subconscious, to that human's subconscious also. If you wrong somebody and that person is having bad vibes for you, those vibes can affect your success in this world. Believe it or not. This is why a lot of people that have baby mama issues, baby daddy issues and everything, they tend to have quite some issues as they move on. Always clear your conscience. Okay? So make sure you clear the air with that person. Show the person that you have nothing against that person. Have no grudge. Because that person's angst can affect you. So, the Christ said, before you beg God for forgiveness, go and settle with that your neighbor. If that your neighbor forgives you and you forgive that neighbor, God in heaven has forgiven you too. This is another way of describing the principle of cords. So you can't cut a cord. You can only neutralize a cord. So if you're smart, another way this works is if, for example, a couple is living in a house and one of the couple starts fucking somebody else without knowing, without telling or whatever. All of a sudden, there's some type of vibe starts coming up in the house. It's not harmonious anymore. It's a third energy involved now, whatever. And the first thing you're going to notice is that the money is going to get funny. That's the first place the spirits show. It's in the money. The money going to get funny. The money is the first place for spirit ever show. If you ever have spiritual issues, the money. Okay, so what you do is find out the origin and neutralize it. Address it. If such a person is somebody that you fucking whatever, don't fight the person, whatever. You may it's advisable not to mix your energy with that person till they get right, so that it stop affecting you. But these are origins of people's bad experiences. Attachments to other people that's beginning to influence your life. It's like a virus. So you can't have a bad experience with somebody, then just cut it. You have to first know the balance of the situation. If the person wronged you, right, and you carry that wrong is going to affect you. You're going to end up jujuing your own self by your own vibes about that person. So you make peace with the situation and you forget about it and move on. So that when you encounter that situation again, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't raise your blood pressure. It doesn't make your heart beat faster. You've made real peace with it. It doesn't matter what the person does at that point. You're not connected to it anymore. That person can live their life how you want. You've moved on for real. However, if you still have regrets, if you still have every now and then you think about that shit and it makes you angry, you're still attached. It doesn't matter what kind of ritual you do. So also to aid this process, because at this point, if you have sexual relations with this person, which if you suck the woman's titty or you suck the guy's dick, you gonna be attached. These things have alchemical effects on the subconscious. If you ate the woman's pussy or whatever, you gonna be, if you ingest any kind of genitals or titties, you gonna be attached to that person. You might fight with the person all you want. If you hear the person's voice on the phone, your dick get hard. And you hate the person. I'm talking to adults. It's real shit. So in this situation, what you do is that you perform a ceremonial rite. You clear the air with the person, then you perform ceremonial magic about the matter. And, I'm not going to go into details of such ceremonial rites, but these ceremonial magical rites is actually the only way that you could truly neutralize the situation. After you do such a ceremonial rite, what you're going to notice is that the universe is going to bring somebody that's going to make you forget about that person. Doesn't mean that that person is going to be somebody you stay with, but that person could only just serve the purpose of neutralizing the cord, or you might say cut, but neutralizing the cord attached to that other person. Ultimately, the universe is trying to get you to understand that you shouldn't be attached to anybody in the physical, virtual realm. That's what the universe is trying to teach you with all these experiences. The moment you get attached, you're in trouble. Okay, so the way Aleister Crowley termed it is love, but love on the will. Love is the greatest law, but love on the will. To love, but love with logic. Know that you're going to leave that shit when you don't have to love it. So don't give all your heart. Have some for yourself. Have most for yourself. Okay? So a cord is an emotional attachment to a circumstance that has come to affect your physical ability. It has influenced your thoughts and has overcome your will. Where you can't consciously, mentally move away from it anymore. All right? This is how juju works, Juju influences the mind. And the person could juju you, you start making wrong decisions in your own life. Fucking with the wrong people and doing the wrong shit, and somebody juju you the whole time. Person has influenced your subconscious. So it's good to have protection, also protective magic. It's good to know how to use your mind to protect yourself in this world. All right? So if you have any questions on that, you may ask. That's what the cords mean, is emotional attachments.